We're back now as our special coverage continues tonight on the passing of Pope Francis, who died early this morning at age 88.
Someone who spent a lot of time with the Pope in the last few years is former Senator Joe Donnelly, who recently served as the U.S. ambassador to the Holy See. He joins us now live in studio. So, Joe, thank you so much for being here. I know a busy day for you.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
I want to ask just first, how did you find out? What time was it when you found out everything?
It's about 10 after 5. I happened to wake up and I checked my iPad, just like I usually do in the morning to see, what's going on. Sure. And I saw that and I said, it's gonna, he's a personal friend. So I was heartbroken, but I also thought this is gonna be a busy day.
And I want to ask you about that relationship. So many people know him as a Pope of the people, right? Charming people with his concern for the poor and the sick. That was the public-facing Pope. How was he behind closed doors? Oh,
he's very humorous, incredibly smart, personable, and a workaholic. He would be up at 6 a.m. and work till like 8:30 at night and go to bed and then get up and go to work, Wow. And he lived in a place that was pretty much like a hotel room at the Holiday Inn Express. And he ate with everybody else on the cafeteria line. And I think his worldly possession was like some books.
Wow.
Amazing. Let's talk about his legacy. How do you think he'll be remembered?
I think he'll be remembered as the Pope who brought the church back to its mission of caring for the poor, of focusing on those in need, and making sure that the church look after everybody, from the poorest person to the richest person. God loves them equally.
And talk about this town. There are so many Catholics who live here in Michiana who are hurting right now on this Easter Monday, of course, feeling that uncertainty. How do you, knowing him so closely and getting close with him over the last several years, how do you move on? How do you continue on?
That he didn't fear death. He had lived an unbelievable life, and his doctors kept telling him, you need to slow down a little bit. And he goes, God is out there. I'm going to work, do my job, and if he calls on me, I'm on my way. But I'm not going to let a minute go by that I'm not out there trying to help.
And you
him.
can see that during his sickness as well. It seemed like the last several months he was sick and doing more.
He was even working yesterday for Easter, shaking hands with Vice President Vance.
It's incredible. He's he never stopped, and I think part of it was he wanted to make sure that for everybody who was in need, he was there for them. And if you think of the heritage of the station, I mean, the station goes back to Father Hesburgh and Notre Dame. And so this station is intimately involved with that as well.
And almost symbolic, almost the day after Easter in a way.
He gave everything he had, went through all the Easter services, was not expected to show up, and came out and then got into Pope Mobile and rode around waving at everybody, and it was like a farewell ride.
Yeah.
You can tell. You had I just want to bring this up, you had the chance to visit Italy, and while you were there, you had an opportunity to see the Pope. How was that? And you guys were talking about that too. It's like he has this aura about him.
He did, and people of all backgrounds, all different countries, thousands of people just came out for the chance to see him, right?
Right. I was at the G7 with him, which is a lot of the industrialized nations met in southern Italy last year in June, and leaders from around the rest of the world came. So there's, like 100 world leaders of their countries who were there. And as in the room, as the leaders would come in, everybody go, oh, there's so-and-so, oh, there's so-and-so. And he decided to go. And he walked in, and it was like a rock star walked in. They all stood up cheering and screaming and everything. And then the president or the prime minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, was like, "You're getting in my golf cart."
These are the stories we wanted. This is why we wanted you here.
I was standing next to Andrea Bocelli, the amazing singer.
My goodness.
And so Andrea's here, and Prime Minister Meloni and the Pope go whizzing by, and she screams out, "Hello, Andrea," and the Pope's like,
he had that personality.
He did. Everybody loved him.
Wow. Larger than life.
I think we have a live shot. My producer, forgive me if I'm speaking out of turn. I believe we have a live shot of St. Peter's Square right there. This is around just about 10:18 local time there. And you can see just how many people are still out there paying their respects.
Oh, yeah. And it will increase every day this week. The love for him is universal, from the smallest village in Africa to the furthest point in the Arctic. His voice is the voice that they hear. He had the universal voice.
And I think that goes perfectly into our next question. What life lessons should we take away from Pope Francis in terms of how we live our lives, right?
He never worried about what came next for him. He never worried about what was in it for him, more or less. It was, how can I help someone in need? And that was what he focused on. As he leaves, he basically wants to go in a pine box.
Sure.
And
he didn't want the normal treatment.
Right.
People don't realize he didn't want the normal people treatment.
I actually heard on the way over here that he wants his headstone just to read Franciscus.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow, it says a lot about him and a lot we can learn as well being on this earth. Joe Donnelly, we appreciate you,
Thank you.
Ambassador, for being
Thanks.
here. Thank you so much
Thanks
for your
very
time.
much.
Let's get